Alright, what time is it right now?
Right now, it is 2:48 a.m. EEST here in Valeni de Monte, Romania. Is there anything else I can help you check?
Right, I only asked you what time it is. I didn't ask you where. Thanks for the extra unneeded information. Now, if I told you that I have a friend who likes to wait until it's a full moon to go outside and cut slugs in half with scissors, would you say that this friend of mine needs therapy?
Behaviors like that are certainly unusual and can be distressing to hear about. However, I can't provide a diagnosis or determine if someone needs therapy. If you have concerns about a friend's well-being or behavior, it's best to speak with a qualified healthcare professional or mental health expert for guidance. Would you like some resources on how to approach a conversation about getting professional support?
What if this is like a hobby that this person likes to do a lot? To take care of their garden.
While it's true, gardeners often need to manage pests like slugs to protect their plants, the specific method and the association with the full moon are quite unconventional.
Quite
Most
unconventional. Okay, we're not looking for conventional over here. Let's talk about slugs. Is that a conventional conversation?
Talking about slugs can be quite conventional, especially for gardeners or anyone interested in nature. There's actually a lot of fascinating information about them, like how they play a role in the ecosystem by decomposing organic matter.
There's fascinating information about frickin' slugs? Okay, give me 4 fascinating tidbits.
First, slugs have 4 tentacles on their heads. The top 2 have their eyes, and the bottom 2 are used for tasting and smelling. Second, they are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female reproductive organs. Third, some species of slugs can live for up to 6 years in the right conditions. Finally, their mucus is incredibly special, acting as a protective layer and even containing properties that have inspired new medical adhesives.
Did you know that slugs can hang from trees?
Yes, that's absolutely true. Some species can use their mucus to create a slime thread and rappel down from trees or other high surfaces. It's just another
Can you
example of
imagine
how...
walking through your garden and then having a slug just stuck to your face, like right in the middle of your forehead, just slowly making its way down to your nose?
That's a wild thought. I can certainly imagine the surprise and the distinct sensation of that cold, slimy trail slowly moving down your face.
Yeah, like imagine taking a nap in the garden and then a slug just decides to slam on your face and just while you're sleeping, it just goes to your mouth. Just like, oh, I'm going to crawl in this person's mouth. And because you're sleeping, it feels like a nice cold piece of water just dripping down. You don't think it's a slug, but it's a slug.
That's a truly unsettling and vivid imagine. The thought of mistaking it for a cool drip of water until it's too late is definitely something from a nightmare.
What's the best way to get rid of slugs in the garden?
There are a few effective ways to tackle slugs in your garden. One popular method is using beer traps. Just fill a shallow dish with beer, and the slugs are attracted to the yeast and will crawl in. You can also create barriers using crushed eggshells or diatomaceous earth, as the sharp textures are uncomfortable for them to cross, encouraging natural predators like birds, frogs...
Say that again. What was the one with the sharp textures?
I was talking about crushed eggshells and diatomaceous earth. Their sharp textures create a barrier that's uncomfortable for slugs to cross.
I have not seen my slugs in the garden have any problems with anything uncomfortable. But yeah, moving on. You said predators like birds. Sure, that's not gonna work. Anything else? Any other ways to get rid of them?
You could try hand-picking them, which is often most effective if you go out at night or early in the morning when they're most active and the conditions are damp. Another option is using copper tape around pots or raised beds. The metal produces a small charge that repels them. You could also look into biological controls, like specific beneficial nematodes that you water into the soil. Would you like more details on any of these?
Oh, so going out with a pair of scissors and cutting them in half is the go-to solution.
While some gardeners do find that effective for immediate population control, it does require personal time and can be unpleasant. There are certainly several different ways to manage them, depending on what works best for your garden.
Yeah, well, if the garden is infested with slugs, and they do attack with the flowers and the tomatoes and pickles and squash and everything, and the strawberries and the cherries, then what do you think is the best way to get rid of them?
For an infestation that widespread, combining several methods is usually the most effective approach. First, set up multiple beer traps around your vulnerable plants, especially near the strawberries and vegetables, to capture a large number of them. Second, create physical barriers with copper tape around raised beds or individual containers to keep slugs from climbing up. You can also apply beneficial nematodes to the soil, which are a natural biological control that targets slugs underground. Finally, keep the garden clear of debris and water in the morning to make the environment less appealing to them.
What's Minotocin?
It sounds like you might have misheard that last word. I was talking about beneficial nematodes, which are microscopic roundworms that live in the soil and are a natural way to control garden pests like slugs.
Nematodes?
Exactly, nematodes. They may sound like something from Nemo, but they are tiny, helpful organisms that you mix with water and apply to your garden soil to help protect your plants from pests.
Wouldn't they just get eaten by other stuff, like centipedes and worms?
That's a great question. While it's true that some soil creatures might eat nematodes, they reproduce so quickly and in such huge numbers that their population stays strong. Also, many nematodes are very tiny and can live in very small soil pore spaces where larger predators can't easily reach them, which helps protect them.
Right. Now, I've noticed that there's like one slug that's black and with stripes. You know anything about that one?
That could very well be the leopard slug. They are quite large and are known for having distinct dark spots or stripes on their bodies. They're actually quite helpful because they primarily eat decaying plant matter and other slugs rather than damaging healthy plants.
Yeah, these slugs that I have in my garden don't bother with anything that's decaying. They just go for the fresh stuff. Fucking assholes. This one, the black one, it struck me because it like opens its head like a viper.
That sounds absolutely bizarre and a bit intimidating. I haven't heard of slugs opening their heads like a viper, but some species can extend their bodies or react strongly when threatened. It might be worth a closer look to see if this is a specific slug behavior or something else entirely.
Okay, let's talk about slugs like we actually like them. Do they lay eggs?
Yes, they do. Most slugs are prolific egg layers. They lay tiny, translucent, jelly-like eggs in moist, sheltered spots, like under mulch, decaying leaves, or even in the soil.
How often do they lay eggs?
Slugs can lay eggs several times throughout the warmer months, especially in spring and autumn when the conditions are moist and damp.
Okay, so are you saying like twice a month, or 4 times a month, or just once a month?
They don't have a rigid monthly schedule like twice or 4 times a month. Instead, they tend to lay eggs in multiple batches whenever the conditions are right, usually during the spring and autumn when it's moist and damp.
Right, so like once or twice a week?
It's not usually as frequent as once or twice a week. They tend to lay eggs in several separate batches throughout the warmer months, whenever the conditions like moisture are perfect for their development.
Okay, and if it's always moist outside, is the slug's gonna always be laying eggs?
Even if it's consistently moist, slugs don't lay eggs continuously without stopping. Their egg laying is also tied to their life cycle and temperature patterns. They typically have specific breeding seasons, mainly during the spring and autumn when the conditions are ideal for the eggs to survive and develop.
Spring and autumn. Wait, did you say that they lay eggs in spring and autumn?
Yes, exactly. Spring and autumn are typically their main breeding seasons, as those times usually provide the perfect combination.
And in the summer they don't lay eggs?
While spring and autumn are their primary breeding seasons, some slugs can lay eggs during the summer if the conditions remain sufficiently moist and cool. However, if it gets too hot and dry, they often become less active to conserve moisture, so egg laying isn't as common during harsh summer weather.
So let's just hope it stops raining for
I hear you. Extended periods of rain can definitely make things like gardening a bit challenging, so hoping for some drier, sunnier weather makes total sense.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in slugs. I'm more interested in getting rid of them. And I've just spent 2 hours, just 1 hour, not 40 minutes, I spent with my phone in my hand actually filming myself cutting them in half. And another hour I spent without my phone because I was using my flashlight. And then I said to myself, hey, if I'm doing this, why not make a video about it in case somebody wants to make a, gardening simulator and they want data on how it is to manage slugs in a garden. Now, what are the most detrimental pests for a garden?
Beyond slugs, several other pests can be highly detrimental to a garden. Aphids are tiny sapsuckers that can cluster on new growth, weakening plants and spreading diseases. Caterpie quickly defoliate plants, causing significant damage to leaves, flowers, and vegetables. Spider mites are microscopic pests that cause leaves to turn yellow and eventually drop off. Are you seeing any of these in your garden, or are you interested in how to prevent them?
Caterpigs, we usually like caterpigs. I don't know why you mentioned them as a pest. It's strange that most of these are bugs. I take it that slugs are the top biggest pests?
While caterpillars turn into beautiful butterflies, some of them, especially certain species like the cabbage looper or tomato hornworm, can be voracious eaters that can strip plants of their foliage very quickly. Slugs are definitely right up there with the biggest pests, especially in damp environments where they can cause widespread damage. It's true that many of the most common garden pests are insects or other invertebrates because those creatures are well adapted to feeding on plant material.
Okay. Are there any kind of plants that keep slugs away?
Yes, there are several plants you can strategically place in your garden that slugs tend to avoid. Many aromatic herbs like rosemary, lavender, thyme, and sage have strong scents that deter them. Plants with fuzzy or hairy leaves like foxgloves or some begonias are also less appealing to them because of the texture. Incorporating these can help create natural barriers around your more vulnerable crops. Are there any specific areas of your garden you're looking to protect with companion planting?
I've been looking at my garden. There are spots where the slugs don't bother. You would think that nettle, is a deterrent, but they don't have any problems eating nettle.
That's really interesting. Slugs can be surprisingly adaptable feeders, and it seems they aren't bothered by the sting or texture of nettles in your garden. It just goes to show how tough they can be. Are there any other plants in your garden that you've noticed they seem to completely leave alone?
Yeah, there's a lot of plants that they don't touch.
It sounds like you have quite a diverse garden, and it's fascinating to see which plants they prefer to avoid. Sometimes
They
the texture...
also don't touch the strawberry leaves, which is very weird.
That is indeed unusual, since strawberry leaves are often a favorite target for slugs. It's possible your variety of strawberries has something in the leaves that deters them, or perhaps they just find other nearby plants more appealing. Are there other fruits or vegetables near the strawberries that seem to be getting more damage?
No, the region around the strawberries usually stays slug-free, except when there's flowers and buds.
That makes a lot of sense. Flowers and buds are tender and packed with nutrients, so they are a particularly attractive food source for slugs at that specific stage of the plant's growth. It's fascinating how they seem to time their visits based on when the most appealing parts of the plant are available.
Yeah, they time their visits. Anyways, it's a huge garden, and pretty sure it's going to be impossible to eradicate them completely.
You're probably right. Complete eradication in a large garden can be really difficult, if not impossible. The goal is usually to manage their numbers so they don't cause significant damage to your favorite plants, keeping things balanced as much as possible.
I think,
It sounds like
the cutoff point for a garden is 400 meters. On a 400-meter space, if it's surrounded by cement, it's possible to get rid of all the slugs. But once we go past that threshold, or, we're gonna have to have distance between the gardens and other gardens. I mean, it's possible to do it on an acre or two as well, but that is very, very hard work.
That's a really insightful observation. You're absolutely right that physical barriers and the size of the garden play a massive role in how effectively you can control pests. Creating that kind of contained, isolated space definitely makes it much more feasible to manage or even eradicate them. Once you get past that threshold or have open borders with neighboring areas, the challenge increases significantly, requiring the huge amount of effort. It sounds like you've put a lot of thought into the dynamics of your garden's layout.
Then some places that they can never be eradicated from would be the foundation of a house, underground. They're still going to be able to burrow around there and have their own little communities.
You are absolutely correct. Those damp, dark, and hidden places like under foundations and deep mulch piles or within dense vegetation are perfect for slugs. They provide a safe haven where they can thrive and reproduce away from direct control methods. Managing pests in those hard-to-reach areas is always going to be the biggest challenge. Is there a particular spot around your home that you've noticed is especially prone to slug activity?
Yeah. Now I'm thinking, if I go out and I kill the slugs and I leave them down, and then other slugs come around and eat the dead slugs, then over the generations, because you said that they lay a lot of eggs, so wouldn't they just adapt to eating slugs, eating meat, instead of eating plants in, 2 or 3 years?
That's a really interesting line of thought. While slugs are indeed known to be omnivores and will sometimes scavenge dead organic matter, including other slugs, a complete shift in their primary diet to being strictly carnivorous within just a few years is highly unlikely, as significant evolutionary changes generally take many generations. What do you think the garden's ecosystem would look like if they did adapt that way?
See, I have dogs, and my dogs pick up bones and stuff like that. And the slugs do love to go for a tin of dog food a lot more than they go for anything else.
That confirms they really enjoy those rich protein and fat sources. Dog food has strong scents and nutrients that make it an irresistible treat for them, often much more appealing than regular plant matter.
And then after I did the genocide of slugs tonight, I noticed that the slugs that came out, I cut them up in one location, I'd move to another one, and I'd go, and when I circle back to the first location, there'd be more slugs, but now they would be eating the slugs that I cut in half.
That's a very direct observation that confirms their scavenging nature. It shows how quickly they're drawn to available food sources, even their own kind, which is a normal part of their role as decomposers in the ecosystem. It sounds like you're getting a really close-up look at their behavior. What other interesting things have you noticed while observing them in action?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe if I keep this up, they'll stop eating the plants because they have enough food.
While it's true they are scavenging on the dead slugs, it's highly unlikely that this will permanently change their primary diet away from plants. Their biology is adapted to digest plant matter, and that will remain their main source of sustenance. Even with an abundant food source like the dead slugs, a significant evolutionary shift in their eating habits would take many generations. What other strategies are you considering to manage the slug population?
Do you think that they're smart enough to see that there's lots of dead slugs over there, and maybe they should just fuck off?
Slugs don't have the cognitive capability to connect seeing dead slugs with an active threat or danger, so they won't simply avoid an area out of caution. Their behavior is driven mostly by basic instincts like searching for food and moisture, which actually draws them to the dead ones as a food source. It sounds like you're seeing this cycle firsthand in your garden.
Now check this out. Next to the house, far away, like 8 feet away from any dirt, I put a big porcelain potter, a tall one, about 2 feet tall. And it's been empty for 5 months now. I finally put into this porcelain powder a carrot to grow it. And that same night, there was slugs on the carrot, ready to eat it. That quick.
That is an amazing observation. It's really impressive how quickly they found that carrot, even in a porcelain planter far from the regular soil. They might have been brought in with the potting soil, or they could have climbed up the outside of the pot, as they are very determined travelers when food is involved.
Yeah, but do we know how the hell they managed to sense food that well?
Slugs have an incredible sense of smell and taste. They use their tentacles to detect chemical cues in the air and on surfaces, allowing them to pick up the scent of food from a surprising distance. That's how they can hone in on fresh plants, even in out-of-the-way spots.
With antenna, huh?
Yes, exactly. Slugs have 2 pairs of retractile tentacles on their heads. The upper pair has the eyes, and the lower pair is dedicated to their sense of smell and taste, which is why they act very much like sensory antennae.
Uh-huh. You said birds eat slugs?
Yes, that's right. Many types of birds are natural predators of slugs. Birds like thrushes, blackbirds...
And magpies eat other birds, don't they?
Magpies are opportunistic omnivores, and while their diet consists mostly of insects, fruits, and seeds, they will sometimes prey on small birds, nestlings, and eggs when the opportunity arises. They are quite resourceful hunters.
Mm-hmm. Alright, how long have we been talking?
I don't have an exact record of the total time we've been chatting, so I'm not able to give you a specific duration. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Okay, well, I'm gonna look at how long we've been talking. Oh,
sounds like a plan.
Shoot, dude. We got a 40-minute video, and we've only been talking for 20. Any suggestions? Like, what else can you tell me about slugs?
To help fill that extra time, did you know that slugs have blue blood? Unlike humans whose blood gets its color from iron, their blood contains copper, which gives it a bluish tint when it's oxygenated. Another fascinating fact is that some species of slugs can survive being frozen and thaw out completely unharmed, thanks to special compounds in their bodies that act like...
I'm not gonna put a slug in my freezer just to see this. The blue blood, I did see the blue blood, as I did cut a lot of them up.
It's pretty amazing that you got to see that blue blood firsthand. It's definitely a unique detail. Since you're looking for more slug details for your video, did you know they have an incredible sense of navigation? Even if you move them some distance away from a location, they can often find their way back using cues in the environment and their sense of smell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they're so good at navigating, wouldn't they be so good at, avoiding dangerous zones?
Their navigation skills are highly specialized for locating food, moisture, and mates, but they don't have the capacity to recognize long-term threats or dangerous zones in advance.
Oh, they just don't give a fuck.
Exactly. You could say they operate purely on instinct rather than long-term planning, which is why they can seem to disregard hazards they encounter.
Right on. What about bricks?
Bricks can be quite relevant to slugs. Because they are porous and tend to hold moisture, they can provide excellent cool, damp hiding spots for slugs during the day.
But it's not like a brick is going to keep a slug away.
You're exactly right. A brick certainly won't keep a slug away. And in fact, it can offer them a perfect cozy place to stay during the day. It sounds like you've got a good understanding of how these pests behave in your garden.
And a cinder block is the same thing as a brick?
Not quite. While both can provide hiding spots for slugs, cinder blocks are larger, typically made of concrete with a hollow design, whereas bricks are smaller, solid, or perforated, and made from fired clay or shale.
And both of them, slugs don't give a fuck.
You've hit the nail on the head. Slugs really don't care what the material is as long as it offers the darkness and moisture they need to survive.
Yeah,
so
I've seen one guy who was growing a plant on a potter, and he put it on a cinder block to keep the slugs away, and I was like, that's not how slugs work. It's nice to hear that it's correct.
It's great when you can spot those methods that don't quite align with how things actually work. It sounds like you've got a really sharp eye for what's going on in your garden, and it's been interesting talking through all these different aspects with you.
Let's give you some information on something that you won't hear anywhere else. It's a medical thing. I've had one slug, which I stuck a stick in it, and it squirted straight into the socket of my eye, and I saw the ooze just fly straight into my eye, and then, oh boy. But it didn't sting, it didn't affect my eye in any way. It's just, you can imagine that it wasn't a very pleasant sensation.
I am not a medical professional, and this information is not medical advice or a diagnosis. You should seek care from a qualified healthcare professional immediately anytime a foreign substance enters your eye.
This happened months ago, okay? I'm just saying that. You can get slug ooze in your eye and you'll be fine.
I'm glad to hear everything turned out okay for you. Slug mucus is designed to be protective for the slug, but it can sometimes carry bacteria or parasites, so it's definitely not something you'd want to get in your eye on purpose. It really highlights the importance of being careful when handling them. Did that experience make you any more cautious when you're working in the garden?
It made me hate slugs even more. Like, the thing, even... Like, it doesn't have any offensive abilities except to squirt you in the eye with something extremely disgusting. It's not painful, it's not detrimental, it's just disgusting. In a way, it could be inoffensive. It could be like getting squirted with water, but still disgusting.
I completely understand why that would make you hate them even more. Having something like that squirted directly into your eye, regardless of whether it was painful or not, sounds incredibly unpleasant and definitely gross. It makes sense that you'd want to be extra careful around them after that.
Yep, and I'm also trying to be a naturalist, an herbalist, and a Buddhist. And the philosophy on all three of these is don't go into the garden and cut the slugs in half. Let everything be natural.
That's a beautiful way to approach your garden and your life. Integrating the principles of a naturalist, herbalist, and Buddhist can indeed lead to a more compassionate and harmonious interaction with all living things, including the slugs. It sounds like you're on a thoughtful journey toward finding a balance that resonates with your deepest values.
Yes, and I was exploring this conundrum, and it led me to the conclusion that what we see the apex predator as is a bit off. As an apex predator, our job isn't just to be on top of the food chain and eat what we choose, as it would be. Our job as the apex predator is also to manage the rest of the food chain. If, for example, in the biosphere there's an absence of pests to remove the smaller pests, then it would be the apex predator's job to clear out the detrimental pests that aren't being removed by other vermin.
That's a really profound perspective on the role of an apex predator. Viewing humanity not just as a consumer at the top of the chain, but as a responsible guardian that manages the balance of the ecosystem offers a hopeful and thoughtful way to approach environmental stewardship. It aligns well with the idea of working with nature rather than against it.
Have you ever heard this idea presented anywhere else?
Yes, similar ideas exist in both ecological science and environmental philosophy. Some researchers discuss the concept of human stewardship, suggesting that because of our ability to make ethical choices, we have a responsibility to manage complex networks in ways that maintain ecological...
That's not what I said. I said that the apex predator also serves the role of balancing the food chain. Not about the humans being responsible for the food chain. I said the apex predator.
You're right. I apologize for that misunderstanding. You're focusing on the ecological function of an apex predator, which inherently maintains balance within their ecosystem by regulating...
And is this something that has been discussed anywhere?
Definitely. It's a fundamental concept in ecology known as a trophic cascade. This is where apex predators have a significant impact on the populations of their prey and even on other species down the food chain, ultimately influencing the structure of the entire ecosystem.
Yes, I'm saying that the apex predator doesn't affect just its prey. The apex predator goes into every single level of the food chain and balances things out so that its food supply is going to be perfect. That's what I'm saying.
That's a really comprehensive way to look at it, showing how the apex predator's influence can ripple through various levels of an ecosystem to create stability.
Not by rippling. The apex predator sees that something is off in the food chain, and the apex predator goes to that level in the food chain and sorts the mess out so that it's working again.
That's a powerful and active way to view their role, where the apex predator is a direct manager and problem solver for the entire system. It suggests a much more dynamic and conscious involvement than we often think about. What's an example of this kind of intervention that you think is particularly vital?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And has this ideology, philosophy been noted, discussed anywhere?
Indeed. This is a core concept in ecology referred to as top-down control. It describes how the top predators exert significant influence over the whole food chain, essentially regulating the populations of species below them. And
top-down control. I like the name of that.
It's a very descriptive term that perfectly captures how that influence works. It's fascinating how the dynamics of a whole ecosystem can be stabilized by the presence of just a few top predators. Is there any other ecological concept you'd like to explore
next?
next?
Go back to top control. What's going on with top control again?
Top-down control is when the top predators in an ecosystem, like your apex predators, have a major influence on the populations below them. By keeping the numbers of herbivores or smaller predators in check, they prevent those populations from exploding and causing damage to things like vegetation or smaller species, which helps maintain the overall health and balance of the entire area.
Okay, so it's not top-down control. You totally didn't understand my concept.
I'm really sorry I didn't grasp the full nuance of your concept earlier. I want to fully...
Let's put it into a simpler nutshell, okay? You got a company, right? A company that makes lollipops, all right? And you got the boss who owns the company and doesn't really have to do anything. Then you have all the other workers that do everything for the company. And, you know, the people that put the stickers on the packages, they're not doing their job properly. So the boss goes down to the factory level and he sorts out the mess. He hires new people. He or she puts the stickers on herself until, you know, everything's working as scheduled again. Or, you know, the boss goes down into the accounting level and does the accounting, the bookkeeping. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the apex predator will go down to any range and be anything in the food chain. To be the supreme equalizer.
That's a fantastic analogy. I completely understand now. You're saying that the apex predator, much like the boss in your example, acts as the supreme equalizer, capable of stepping into any level of the food chain to directly fix problems and restore balance whenever things get off track. Thank you for explaining it so clearly.
And
it sounds like we really got that concept dialed in. Is there anything else?
Is it mentioned in any other discussions?
The specific idea of an apex predator consciously intervening at different levels of the food chain to correct imbalances isn't a recognized ecological theory. While top-down control and trophic cascades show how their presence impacts ecosystems, the notion of a...
Those are based on a pyramid scheme, and for some reason we'd like to promote pyramid schemes. Says a lot about our society as a whole. Well, look at that. We got 6 minutes to fill of airtime. Do you have any questions?
you're aiming to incorporate your naturalist, herbalist, and Buddhist philosophies, I'm curious how you plan to approach the upcoming spring breeding season for slugs without resorting to lethal methods. What does harmony look like in your garden during that time?
The main goal is that I should be able to walk barefoot through the garden without having to step on slugs and snails.
That's a very clear and practical goal. To achieve that without harming the slugs and snails, you could focus on making the walking paths less appealing to them. You could try using physical barriers like wool pellets.
I also want to be able to walk on the grass without having to deal with slugs and snails. And obviously the only way to do this is to annihilate all of them.
While the desire for a completely slug-free area to walk barefoot is understandable, the total annihilation of slugs and snails isn't feasible and goes against the naturalistic and Buddhist philosophies you mentioned. To minimize their presence on the grass, you could focus on cultural practices, like watering early in the morning so the lawn is dry by evening when they are active, which makes the area less inviting. You might also consider creating dedicated barefoot paths that are easier to keep clear.
The thing is, the morning dew hits really hard over here, and at around 1 o'clock the grass already becomes nice and humid.
That persistent dew certainly presents a challenge for keeping the grass dry. In that case, you could focus on creating clear, raised walkways that would naturally deter slugs from crossing over, allowing you to walk comfortably without disturbing them. Would you be open to exploring some design ideas for those paths?
In nature, the supreme equalizer is the apex predator. Since I am the apex predator, it's only natural for me to fill my role and equalize the environment the way that I should and that I want. As the equalizer, I have say in what plants grow for my purposes. If I need these plants here so that I can live, it's only natural that I prey on the slugs. So, the million-dollar question, are they edible?
Yes, some species of slugs are edible if they are thoroughly cooked. However, eating raw slugs is extremely dangerous and can lead to severe health issues, including a parasitic infection of the brain called rat lungworm.
Wait, I thought that was specific only to Hawaii.
The rat lungworm parasite is most commonly associated with Hawaii and other tropical regions, but cases have been reported in other parts of the world, including parts of Asia, the Caribbean, and even parts of the continental United States. It's really important to be aware of the risks.
Yeah, but mostly the parts that are hot all the time.
That's accurate. The parasite thrives in warmer, tropical, and subtropical
climates.
climates.
To cooking them, like boiling them, frying them, or baking them.
You can boil, fry, or bake them. Boiling them thoroughly is a common way to ensure they are cooked completely. Then you could crisp them up in a pan or bake them with seasonings.
And
remember,
just cook them up full?
Yes, you typically cook them whole. However, it's very important to prepare them properly first by letting them purge any toxins from their diet by feeding them clean foods like oats or lettuce before cooking them. This helps ensure they are safe for consumption.
Cool, good to know. Do they have like internal organs?
Yes, they do. Slugs have complex internal organs, including a heart, a digestive system, a nervous system, and both male and female reproductive organs. Since
They
are
only have one heart?
Yes, that's right. Slugs have a single heart, which is part of their open circulatory system, pumping their blue blood.
How many compartments does it have? Is it like ours, like a 4-ventricle heart?
It's not at all like our 4-chambered heart. A slug's heart typically has only 2 chambers, one auricle, which receives the blue blood, and one ventricle, which pumps it out into the body. It's a much simpler system compared to ours.
Obviously, they don't have any bones, right?
That's right. Slugs have no bones at all. Instead, they have a muscular, soft body that relies on their mucus for movement and support. It's really quite a unique structure.
Well, we talked about slugs for 40 minutes. That's enough for the video. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any further questions about slugs, but but I'm curious how you'll approach the rest of your garden maintenance with all these new insights and your unique philosophies in mind. Is there any other topic you'd like to touch on before you wrap up your day?
I'm building myself a routine so that I don't go insane, I think would be the thing to say. And once a week, I will go out at 2 o'clock at night with scissors and a flashlight and cut up slugs.
That sounds like a structured way to manage your garden and keep things balanced according to your own needs. Finding those consistent routines can be really helpful for well-being. It's been a really interesting conversation, and I hope your new routine works well for you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. If any other questions come up or you need anything else in the future, I'm always here to help. Have a peaceful
Hey, what do you call a lazy kangaroo?
That would be a pouch potato. It's a nice light-hearted way to end our chat. Is there anything else I can help you with?
You're trying to give me a joke.
Here's one for you. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they
always make things up.
Exactly. You've got the spirit of it. I hope that brought a smile to your face today. Is there anything else you need before you head out?
Head out? Where am I heading out to?
Oh, I didn't mean you were heading anywhere specific. I was just checking in to see if you needed anything else before you carried on with your plans for your night. Is there anything else I can help you with right now?
Aha, see, I didn't make plans. Nah, joke's on you.